Hello, welcome to day 2 of the Hudson Valley Yarn Trail. I'm getting a little bit of a later start than I would have liked to, but it's all good because there were events last night that are affecting how it went today. So one was I have like a couple pattern tests that need to get finished up, and I thought one of them was due today, but it's actually due 3 days from now. I didn't realize it was due 3 days from now until I was about to submit it for completion. I stayed up late to finish that because I knew I couldn't just say, hey, this pattern's good. I knew I had to rewrite some pattern as part of the feedback. The end result was cute though. The other thing was I was planning on visiting 4 different stores today, but it turns out one of the stores I was going to visit today is not going to be open for the entirety of the yarn trail. I don't know why. I'm assuming it has to do with the flooding that happened a month ago. I'm not sure, but I realized this when I was looking up my travel plans, and Google's like, this is temporarily closed. They're not opening up. And I was like, is that actually the case? I went to the website of the place and yeah, they're temporarily closed. So I only had 3 stores to hit today. The nice thing is about where I'm staying is it's actually right next to one of the stores that I need to go to today. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to end with that one. So that way I have a very short commute back to my room. Like the shortest. Yeah, we're just going to start with a nice drive and just kind of take it easy today, you know? Like get a nice little exploratory, enjoy the sun type of day. Oh, this is the one store in which I'm in Connecticut instead of New York for the Hudson Valley Yarn Trail. And there's actually supposed to be 2 stores, but the store that I found out is closed for the season is also in Connecticut. So this will be the only Connecticut stop. And it's a nice little store. It's actually a bit of a bigger store, actually. It's in the middle of this parking mall, and be prepared to walk around and look for it because where Google says it is and where it actually is don't exactly match. But it's a nice spot. So it's more than just a yarn store. It also had some clothing and some gifts in there as well. I found some nice yarns here. I got most of my yarn from the clearance section actually. They had some pretty good yarns on clearance. Let me start showing you what I got. As part of being a trailer, I guess, I'm still stuck on Cruiser from the main one. They gave me this bag. They let me choose a bag. They had an option of bags. I like that one the best. They had this Bo Peep Pure Falkland Islands wool. Never seen that brand before. It's a very nice one. It's nice, soft, and squishy too. This here is Bouquet by Nancy O. So this looks like a Nancy O yarn. It's BFL rose and cashmere. So I'm not sure if that means there's actually rose in it. Pick a bouquet of Nancy O petals, a unique blend of Blueface Leicester, a soft hair sheet from England, cashmere, and rose fiber, a radiant fiber taken from rose bushes. So there are actually roses in this. The cashier who was helping me out told me that she made a shawl with this and it works amazing, so I'm excited to work with this. This Cascade Pima was on clearance, so I actually got 4 of them in order to make something big with it. I also got another one in purple just to make something small because I think that is the exact yarn that is used to make a kit that I bought on the main yarn cruise. So I can kind of just make more of that same thing with that yarn if I end up liking the pattern. And then they also had this other brand that I haven't seen before. It's like Mountain Colors from Massachusetts. I ended up getting 2 so I can make something a little bit bigger because they had similar colorways. This was also on clearance. And then this Juniper Moon was on clearance. It's a nice colorway there, nice thick yarn. Make something quick with that. This here is Louisa Harding Province. It's a linen mix with cotton and plant fiber blend. Yeah, viscose. Look at that colorway, it's gorgeous. Oh my gosh. It says it's vegan, cruelty free. Cool. This here is another brand I haven't really seen before. It's Jessa and Flo. It's 100% wool. They had the Barocco Comfort on clearance. I've gotten this exact scheme before and I love it. Since it was on clearance, it's like, why not? The clearance was 50% off. And then they had this brand like Euro Baby. I may have seen it before, I may have not, but it struck me as unusual, and they had some good colorways and it was on clearance. So I just cleared them out of the Euro Baby. So I also got that. and I got that. All colorways that I will use. They had more of the Barocco Comfort on clearance. I think that is this as well. Yeah. I also got Sidar Snuggly. I saw a lot of Sidar Snuggly when I was in Ireland, but I was avoiding it because I can get in the States, but it's like, you know what, let me just get a little yarn that I like, a little taste. And that's what I got here in Nancy O. Oh yeah, they also gave me a tape measure, but I think my tape measure is in my other bag. What was really nice about Nancy O was I just happened to come during a time when they were teaching a knitting class. So obviously I walked over and looked at what they were all working on. Yeah, it turns out it's kind of like you bring your own project to the class and they're all at different stages and they're all working on different things, but the teacher goes around and helps them all, which is pretty nice. There's about 6 students there. And then there's a teacher. They let me just walk around and look at their different projects, and they're very friendly and welcoming too. I'm thankful they had the patience to put up with me real quick. Also, the other life-saving thing was I started to need to use the bathroom really, really bad. It was just like a case of just dehydration and period and warm weather. It just all hit at once, and fortunately they had a bathroom here. I'm incredibly grateful for the bathroom because I feel better now. Although now I am definitely going to bring another Gatorade to the front. Thankfully, they just had the store was big enough that they had their own bathroom. So yeah, I'm gonna figure out what the next store is and get going there. I just came out of the yarn box, and what a delightful store. You know, it's in the town of Paulines, and it's in this cute little mall development area. It's on what they call a boulevard, but this looks nothing like any boulevard that I'm familiar with. It seems more like a kind of out-of-the-way shopping mall with parking, which is, I mean, for reference, I'm thinking of the Roosevelt Boulevard, which is an entirely different animal. There were some amazing finds here, and there's some people working and talking about knitting as I came in. One of the store owners, Paula, she was very, very helpful in trying to get answers about questions of yarn that I had, because there were things that I was looking at like, am I able to buy this or not? And I was. Here we have this special type of, it almost looks more like a ribbon with the way it is. It's 100% rayon. I have a feeling of what rayon's like, but it's almost like more like a ribbon than it is a yarn. But you can kind of see there's like a name right there. They had another thing nearby and another, this is 100% rayon, but it's called Silkworm, which is interesting. It's Gemini Innovations from Staten Island, New York. I've never seen this brand before. Pretty interesting. It's almost more like a cord. This is the really bougie yarn. This is Angora. There's not much. This was $8 for just this amount. But this feels like a cloud, what a cloud would feel like if a cloud wasn't wet and didn't dissolve in your hands. Like, this is what people think of when they think of what clouds feel like. It's like so soft. I'm gonna have to mix that with something, obviously. It's super amazing, yeah. I got this online spirit thing, and this is kind of just like a cord. Paula told me she made a shawl with this. Yeah, it's not as stretchy as it looks, but it looks amazing. Just like this general cord-like feeling, yeah. It really caught my eye, and it feels nice too. And then we have Ella Ray with the Eco Cotton. I just like the feel of the Eco Cotton, so I got some of that, even though I got some of that during the main thing. And then this here's a brand that I haven't really seen before yesterday, but I've been seeing in a couple of the New York stores. It's called Sublime, and this is extra fine merino wool, and it's super soft. This might be fun to dye, honestly. Like, I'm probably not going to keep it that color. And then this is a Katia Sevilla. I've never really seen this texture from them before, or at least I don't think I have. It's starting to get hard to keep all the yarn straight in my head from 3 different yarn curls and also Ireland, so it might be a bit jumbled in my head at this point, so I may have seen this somewhere else, but this was the first time that it caught my eye. It's almost more like a ribbon streamer type of thing. It's very silky smooth. I mean, this is probably rayon, yeah? Polyamide. That's why it feels super smooth. And then this is something that I pretty much see in every store, or most stores, and I usually never get it, but I decided to get it this time because I actually like this colorway. This is Noro. These skeins have a lot of yarn in them, but they are like $40 each, which is why I usually never get them. But I love this color, and I do like how it feels. I mean, this is a silk, cotton, mohair, wool, polyamide. I mean, it's quite the mixture, yeah? Yeah, I love this green. Hopefully that'll be enough to make a nice something something with that. Now here's the good stuff. So this is potentially the roughest yarn in the store, but they did have like these cones. It was unsure whether they were decoration or whether they were for sale, and it turns out they were mostly decoration, but they were also for sale. I got this. Like, look at that label. It's been there a while. Who knows how old this yarn is? This was 100% pure new wool when it was made, but it's Shetland wool, and it was made in Scotland. And this baby is rough. It is so rough. But I can make a little something something with this. I don't know what yet, but we're gonna find out. It's like, I love finding yarn that's like super old. Oh yeah, this kind of just slid here. So this is from Circulo. It's more kind of like a rayon ribbon in a way. Is this rayon? It's polyester, 100% polyester. But if you can see, there are holes in there. So that's where your knitting needle goes, your crochet hook goes. And then you actually just like knit from those holes, and that creates like a ruffly scarf. So I got two of the same color. So that way I can have like a nice long enough scarf from that, because I'm not sure if one would give me enough. Well, I don't know which one I'm more excited about. Oh yeah, this was a free thing that Paula gave me. The needle thing. I can always use one of those. Here we go. I'm super stoked about this one. This is the first store in any yarn crawl I have ever done that sold safety eyes. This is very hard to find, not online. So obviously I had to get some, yeah? So I mean, they had these comical eyes, you can kind of see. But they also had like these green froggy eyes in 2 different sizes. These green cat eyes. So I got 5 of the big ones and 7 of the small ones. And then they had like these brown eyes, these super big brown eyes. And then they had these orange eyes too. And these orange eyes are actually very close to what I have. Although the orange eyes didn't have the backing to them, which was very unusual. So I didn't get as many of them because I'm pretty sure I can find like extra of the little backing pieces with ones that I already have, but I didn't want to push my luck. Like, I'm sure I can find a couple extra, yeah. Because some other like companies, when they sell safety eyes, they provide you with extras in case you lose one or misplace one, things like that. But also, like, the backings for most of them, they're metal. I've never really worked with metal backings before. I usually just work with the plastic backing. I am so stoked. I'm so stoked about this. Oh my gosh. I am so excited. I don't know what I'm going to make yet, but they are going to have the most adorable eyes. I have a feeling some of them are probably going to end up on frogs. The other really big item was also really vintage. Was a sweater kit. And it's like it's been there for a while. Look, the plastic is broken. But there's also like yarn inside. So theoretically, it's a sweater kit. It has the pattern and the yarn that's needed. And it's been chilling for a while. I just paid 30 bucks for that. I think that is worth it. That was an absolutely fair price. If this was like a brand new kit with all the yarn provided and the pattern, that would easily be $100. When I look at the yarn inside, it does look like it's wool. Like, I'm just stoked that I found this. This is one of those things where you don't expect to find something like this. It's amazing. But yeah, that's what I got from the yarn box. So I'm gonna start heading on my way back to the store that is right next to where I'm staying and see how I feel after that store. I'm on the fence of what my plans are gonna be after that store, but I'm very, very glad I came to Pauline's, and honestly, I think I would want to spend more time here, but I don't really have too much time to spend right now. I just came out of the Endless Skein, and it's an amazing little shop. They have a huge variety of yarns that are available, including some yarns that are not available for much longer. I found some amazing stuff in here. They had a sale section. The sale section is going to be what kills me here in these yarn crawls, because it's amazing deals. So then I buy a lot of it, and then it's as if the items were not on sale. I ended up getting 2 skeins here. This is undyed wool. It's super soft, and it was marketed specifically as yarn that is able to be dyed, and that is something I do want to experiment with a little bit more in the future. So I got some dyeable wool. Bridget, the person who works there, was telling me that actually they were bleaching it in the sun, so there might be parts of this that are kind of yellow on the inside, and it might create a different color, but that's okay because I'm fine with variegated yarns. Here, this is a Plymouth yarn. I've been seeing Plymouth yarn in quite a few of them, but this one says Pima Colada, which is an amazing pun. It's cotton and lyocell. Lyocell strikes me as like a seaweedish type of thing, or a polyamide. I'm not entirely sure on that. And then this was on sale too. The brand was called Fiber MacGyver. I've never seen that brand before. This is like a nice squishy yarn. Yeah, it's a merino nylon blend, that's why. I now understand why people are obsessing over merino sheep, because I keep touching merino yarn and it is so soft. I saw this brand that I like in the sales section that I've only seen online. I haven't seen in person. It's called the 316 Dye Studio. So I got some of their yarns. Their yarn that they had was super vibrant. So this here is like an orangey type of yarn. And then this here is a nice vibrant pink. And then this here is a nice electric blue. It might be called electric blue. Yeah, electric boogaloo. But like, imagine something made with the two of these together. Oh my gosh. This here is one of the dyers that they had that doesn't dye anymore. It's called Less Traveled Yarn, which explains why I haven't seen this before, because there's not much of it left. But apparently people are like scouring online for these skeins because they need one skein left for the project. I also have another one from that company. This is also from Less Traveled Yarn. It's like such a beautiful colorway. Oh my gosh. I was tempted to get two different colorways, but it's like, no, Becky, let's not spend all our money at one spot. We still have over half the curl to go. And then this was a Shibu Knits with Julie Hoover. This is a bit rougher. It's 75% Highland wool and 25% alpaca. That explains why, because of the wool. I'm pretty sure I've seen Shibu Knits and other things. I think I've gotten Shibu Knits, but I haven't. It seems like they're collaborating with an artist here, would be my guess. This is the other yarn that was hand dyed. I actually follow this guy on Instagram. It's Ken Yarns. He recently closed down his dye studio a couple months ago and to focus on other projects. So it's nice that I'm gonna be able to get to try his yarn. They had an in-house brand. The employees dyed the yarn themselves. So this is one of them. And it seems like the color is named after, I guess, the person who dyed it. So this one's just Ben W. It's a nice blue. It's got that zebra stripe thing going on there. This one is called Tennifer. It's like a nice vibrant orange. And then this here is called the Mona Lisa S, which honestly, this looks exactly like a skein of yarn that I have at home that I'm looking for dupes of for another project, but I don't know if I'm gonna use it for that or if I'm going to use it for something else. We'll see. And then this here, oh, it's primrose yarn. I thought this was something completely different. I did not realize this was primrose yarn I already got. But this one's called Spacesuit. Yeah, I see it says Spacesuit now. When I was in the store, I thought it said Space Soil, which honestly, also cool. It's like an amazing colorway. This here is just a universal yarn, cotton Supreme Speckles. Super soft and squishy. They had a sample made up with it in the store and it was so soft. This here is a brand that seems local to this area. It's called Hudson Highlands. It's Nightshade. I mean, look at that purple. Look at that like nightshade look. It looks amazing. It probably looks even more, yeah, it looks even more amazing in the sun. Look. So I realized the sun is now burning my arm. It turns out I bought something that is actually meant more for the locals than it is for me, but that's fine. They had a table full of yarn that's paired for charities. And this was actually a charity I was thinking about attempting the yarn for. So this is Knicker Knockers. They make prosthetic boobs for people who have breast cancer. So instead of going through plastic surgery and trying to get more boobs, you can just put a little yarn thing in your bra and still have the appearance of having boobs. Because honestly, who's gonna know? This actually has 3 different types of patterns inside, and they request that you send it unstuffed. So I'm probably going to do that at some point. And then this was also another brand I'd never seen before. So this is called the Tapestry Project. And I was told that there is an actual project going on. I need to research more about it. But with the Tapestry Project, it turns out that there was an exhibition here lately, and it's something related to climate change. And then this is the second store of the day that has safety eyes. So I just got 3 because I found out when I was at the cash register and there's someone waiting to buy yarn behind me. Only one skein when I'm buying this behemoth amount of yarn. And I don't want to take too much more of her time, but I did want to still get some. I also got 2 books. So one is Patty Lyon's Knitting Bag of Tricks. Patty Lyon's is big in the knitting world for teaching people how to knit and for going into all sorts of little details and to the point of being super obsessive about it. But I know that I can probably learn something really cool from this that I do not know yet. And honestly, when it comes to learning things, I have more patience to go through a paper book than I do looking at a computer screen, which is why I have so many books. And then I also saw this Ultimate Crochet Nursery book. Now, I do not plan on having babies anytime soon, but there are some patterns in here that I have not seen in other baby patterns or other patterns in general, things that are not typically made. So it'd be interesting to see what appeals to me to try. And then the last thing that I got from here, it's a stitch fixer, and it's basically a double-sided crochet hook. I have never seen anything like this in my life. And it's cool. I've seen like double-pointed needles and cable needles, I mean, but no, the crochet hook. This is so cool. So yeah, that's what I got from the Endless Skein. So I'm not sure what's gonna happen next for today, but it depends on what Google says. But yeah, the Endless Skein was a very nice little store. I also had a lovely time talking with Bridget. She was more than willing to answer my questions about the stuff that was all around, and she actually told me about the New York Fiber Trail, which is different from the Hudson Valley Yarn Trail. I was considering the New York Fiber Trail, but that is a little bit too big of a commitment this year, considering that this is my 3rd yarn crawl of the year. Like the New York Fiber Trail, for reference, has like 40 shops on it. It would take like a whole month to get it done. It was like we were just having a good time bonding over the yarn. All right, after I looked at Google for a variety of things, I realized that I had enough time to go to one more store. So I did. And this store is a little bit different than the other stores because this store is actually not part of the Hudson Valley Yarn Trail. They were part of it last year. But as I mentioned earlier, when I was trying to plan this trip, I ended up emailing 3 different stores to see if they could let me know that if it was going on this year. And this store is one of them. So since they replied back to me and told me like, yeah, we're not in it this year, unfortunately, but here's the information for the Hudson Valley Yarn Trail, I decided to give them a visit. So this is the Grumpy Goat's Fine Yarn. And I didn't want to take up too much of the person's time because like I ended up coming in about 15 minutes before closing. But I am super glad I came, because I found so many yarns here that I have not seen in other places, which the owner, Susan, was telling me that she tries to do that, which is good. And I found some stunning yarn. So let me show you. This here is called the Electric Peacock, but it's Cannon hand dyes. I've never seen this brand before. The plastic's kind of shining it out. There you go, that's better, but gorgeous colors. And it's yak and silk. So this is super soft. And also what's amazing about this is there is a list of pattern suggestions on the side of the thing. So the person who dyed these yarns took a bunch of patterns that she likes and put them on the thing saying like, hey, this is what you can make with my yarn, which is an amazing marketing technique. I'm surprised I bought this, but I got 2 of these Red Heart things. It's a cotton acrylic mix. As it turns out, Red Heart is the 2nd best-selling brand in this store. The reason why they stock Red Heart and Grumpy Goat Fine Yarns is because Susan's mother makes Afghans with Red Heart. And so she was just stocking them for her mother so her mother could get them. But then other people ended up liking to buy it too. But I've got a gut feeling about this one. I have an umbrella frame that I want to make, and I did find someone online who makes umbrellas, so I ended up asking her what yarn she uses. And she told me like a hobby yarn, but I've got a feeling that this could be a good substitute for it. I gotta try Yarn Sub. And even if it isn't the proper substitute for it, this will still work for something. I don't know what. Her best-selling yarn is actually a brand that I didn't get because I have seen it in other stores. It's Knitting for Olive. That's the one she sells the most skeins of. And she told me she was actually the first store in the United States to sell Knitting for Olive, which is a nice little cool tidbit there. And then there's this Holst yarn. I've never seen this brand before. This one's an alpaca mulberry silk mix with yak. Super soft, oh my gosh. It's a lovely color. I have another one in here. Oh, I'll get to it eventually. The other one's in cotton. And then this is another brand I've never seen before. It looks like Ansula. This is hand dyed in Fresno, California. The owner here has actually met the person who hand dyes these. The yarn does feel a little bit rougher. Yeah, well, because it's 100% American Targhee, that's why. It has a nice solid feeling to it. So this next one is one that I've never used before, but I follow the dyer on Instagram. This is Arcane Fiberworks. A lot of other people on Instagram sing this guy's praises for how the yarn works up, so I'm very curious to see it for myself. So this one's called Saint Nick. There's just one skein of it, which honestly, that's all I really needed. Just to give it a nice try. It feels super nice. Well, yeah, it's a merino nylon, that's why. But I mean, look at the colorway. It's stunning, it's gorgeous. Oh my gosh. The interesting thing is about this store, she only buys one skein of each colorway at a time. So when you buy Arcane Fiberworks from Grumpy Goat's Fine Yarns, she also gives you the display picture. So I have this cute display picture of Saint Nick with like the yarn and how it works up, which is super nice, honestly. I mean, I know this is just like a computer printout that's been laminated and whatnot, but that's an interesting marketing technique. And then this here is Brooklyn Tweed Staple. What's interesting here is it mentions all the different places that this was made. So this was sourced in Colorado and Texas. It was spun in Wisconsin, and it was dyed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I had to come to New York to get a yarn that was dyed where I live. But also we got into a really interesting conversation. Susan was telling me about how there was a dyeing area in Manayunk that ended up getting flooded out and they had to shut down, and Brooklyn Tweed was one of those yarns that was dyed in Manayunk, which is funny because I was told about this exact story when I was in Bartlett Yarns. Because Bartlett Yarns ended up buying some of the dyeing materials for it from like the Manayunk thing, which is like, wow, what a small world. This here is Eden Cottage Yarns. Apparently Grumpy Goat Yarns is the only store that sells this in the United States. This came from England, I think. Yeah, Susan was very knowledgeable in knowing where all her yarns came from. She had a small amount of brands, but she knows a lot about those brands. There were a couple different types of yarn. This is the softer yarn. So this is a merino linen mix. I mean, the colorway on this is just stunning. And then she was also talking about this one. So I'm actually somewhat surprised I went for this shade of green. I mean, the fact that I went for green is not surprising. Look at this green. This is absolutely vibrant. I know this is kind of shining out. Maybe if I hold it like this. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. And this is called Kelp. And honestly, this kit was cheaper than I thought it was going to be. It's only 30 bucks. I was expecting something like this to be like 50. It's a merino nylon mix, so it's going to be pretty soft. Just like the nice gradation too. I mean, it just worked. There was also Kelp just like this, and this is just such a vibrant colorway. It's like, wow. I don't usually fall in love with this color, but I can't help it. It's amazing. The last skein here is the Holst yarn, and this is the cotton yarn, and she says it's a super thin fingering yarn. They have a whole variety of colors, and she tries to stock every color that they have. So that's all the yarns that I bought, but I actually have more. So in the middle of the table of the store, there's a bucket underneath, and the bucket says swap basket. So I was curious, and right before I left, I asked Susan, what does this mean? And it turned out it's like the yarns are free to take. If you see a yarn you like, you're allowed to take it. And if you have a yarn that you're not going to use, you're allowed to leave it. So if I return this way again, or even if I don't, I might mail some. But it's like, I didn't have any yarns with me that I felt like leaving. This is a yarn gathering trip. But I did see some yarns in there that I found really interesting and wanted to use. So this is the first one. Look at that sun yarn. There was another one in there. I decided to leave it in there for someone else so they could share. We can be yarn buddies. This feels like some sort of wool mix. It doesn't feel like straight up wool. It feels like a wool blend, or it could be some sort of polyamide polyester thing. But look at these colors. This is amazing. So amazing. And then there's this other one, Pure Impulse. Haven't seen much anything like it. It looks like I got a dead animal. I ended up going for it because it's a brand I don't remember seeing. Yeah, Loops and Threads, the fox fur. I mean, that is the skein. That is the yarn. I could make my own bear blanket from this. And it actually led to a conversation. So around here, there's like a bear sanctuary. It's not open to the public, but there are it's mostly Kodiak bears, and they care for these bears. They're not able to go back into the wild. And yeah, it turns out that they're collecting the hair that the bear sheds, and they send them to someone in England who spins it into yarn. Like, they spin the bear hair into yarn. And then with this store, Susan gave it to a bunch of people who visit her store, and they turned the bear yarn into teddy bears. And then they gave the teddy bears over to be like a charity auction, and as you can imagine, they went for a lot of money. Like the most expensive was $1,500 for one teddy bear. But honestly, knowing that there are teddy bears in the world that are made with bear fur is one of the coolest things that I have ever heard, ever. I found out that there are pictures of this online if I follow them online, so that's something I'm gonna have to do just so I can look at these teddy bears for myself. Oh my gosh. I am so glad that I have heard of that. Like, just that story alone was worth the trip coming up here. Yeah, I'm very glad I came to Grumpy Goat's Fine Yarns. It's a very nice little shop. I'm back at the place where I'm staying for the night. Well, actually, I'm parked down the street from the place. Although now it looks like there's a parking spot there. There was not one before. I'm parked now. It's all good. Like last night, I ended up wandering in the opposite direction I intended, and I ended up having dinner at a bar. Then this morning, I went to a cafe, and the waitress who brought me my food actually mentioned like, hey, I saw you last night at the bar. Like, you were writing in your notebook. I do that too. And it's like, wow, that's a small town experience, right? Like in Philly, that would never happen. Well, it would happen, but you would have to meet the person more than once to mention something like that. It's like, oh, this is kind of cool, actually. The weather today was beautiful. The scenery was beautiful. Traffic was mostly smooth. Couldn't ask for a better day of driving. The only thing that really sucker punched me was my uterus. Like many things in life, it is harder to do a yarn crawl when your uterus decides to bleed everything in sight. It is not the hardest thing I've done while on my period, but it's pretty difficult, yeah. I'm gonna get a meal, get everything all set. Cold Springs has been a very nice town to be in, honestly. Just a very nice town to stay, very easy to get around. Parking's a bit mad, but I mean, hey, that's pretty much every small town, yeah. At least I don't really have to pay for the parking on Main Street. Anyway, that was today's entertainment. Have a nice day.